Hi, everybody. Julianna Forlano from actNOW. We've launched a membership program for act.tv. If you're new here, act.tv is a progressive media company for political activists and people who want a more progressive politics. Our mission is to create a media to empower progressive activists, to amplify the message, and to give an entryway for viewers to participate in these actions. That is one reason we launched the membership program. When you sign up, you get the latest action info about the subjects that you hopefully care about, as well as information on what other things we're up to and how you can take part. You could become an act.tv patron to help fund our work if you feel called to do so, and you can access special events. We believe active participation in democracy is important, and we also try to help facilitate that process. act.tv has a long track record on the cutting edge of live streaming and social media, starting all the way back from Occupy Wall Street and other movement efforts, and we still are doing those things today, as you can see. Right now, the Trump-dominated corporate-controlled media landscape overpowers progressive voices. As we've seen over and over, even when progressives take to new media, the big tech algorithms marginalize the message or bury it, unless it serves some corporate purpose or is just another bunch of junk, but it gets views. We don't do that. We don't do that. So in our mission to create this media to empower activists, we have an uphill battle, and we need your help. Sign up to receive the latest about what we're up to and how you can learn to take part. You can also become an act.tv patron to help fund our work and access special events. We are taking our work to the next level with this membership program, and we are jumping from online to TV sets. Stay tuned for more about that. Thank you for watching act.tv. Thank you for whatever work you're doing to make this a more progressive and just society. And I look forward to seeing you on our platforms. And now on with the show. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Act Now. I'm Julianna Forlano. Joining me on the program today, my good friend and fellow lefty, Katie Halper, is going to be doing the headlines with us. That's all. It's going to be the whole show of headlines, so stay tuned. Katie Halper, co-host of Useful Idiots, host of the Katie Halper Show, seen often on The Hill reporting. Katie Halper, so nice to have you here again. It's been a long time.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me. Been a long time. Yeah. Oh, you got to come on my show.
I would love to. Your show is awesome. Fantastic. So we both covered, but you did a killer show yesterday night, and I encourage everybody to go back and watch it on the YouTubes. Steven Donziger, we've been following that on this show as well, but there has been an update to the situation. Can you tell people what just happened to our friend, the lawyer who stood up to Chevron and had basically all of Chevron, unite with the U.S. legal injustice system, and he's been on house arrest for 2 years now?
Yeah, so this is a really scary and important case, and of course, not surprisingly, it hasn't gotten any establishment media attention. But Steven Donziger is a human rights lawyer, environmental rights lawyer. He represented people in Ecuador, in the Ecuadorian Amazon. Chevron had poisoned their water, which led to increased rates of cancer, environmental devastation, birth defects. And he successfully sued Chevron for $9.5 billion. He won that settlement for the people of Ecuador. And instead of paying that, Chevron retaliated, accused him and others of engaging in fraud. They went after him under RICO charges, which is what's usually used to go after the mob. They said that he had tried to bribe a judge, and that was based on the testimony of a judge who Chevron themselves had paid to move. They moved him and his family and also paid him millions of dollars. This judge would later recant and admit that he lied, and somehow none of that has had any bearing on this case. So they went after Steven, accused him of fraud. They got him disbarred. The judge who oversaw the case demanded that he hand over his digital communication, his cell phone, which obviously would have put his clients at risk and in danger, especially his clients, in Ecuador. So he refused because there's such thing still. He made the mistake of thinking that attorney-client privilege exists, I guess, in this country, even when you're going after Chevron. So then the judge wanted to prosecute him for criminal charges for refusing to hand over his cell phone. And he took the case to the federal SDNY, Southern District of New York, the federal prosecutor's office. They refused to prosecute Steven twice. So then the Judge Lewis Kaplan, who's a big tobacco guy, he then he hired a private firm to prosecute Donziger, and this firm had represented Chevron. He handpicked the judge. He handpicked a conservative judge named Judge Loretta Preska. She is a member of the right-wing and Chevron-funded Federalist Society. She went after him. She read her newspaper during the trial, just so you get a
like sitting like this. Just, yeah.
Seriously, just open contempt, open disdain.
Wow.
And then she sentenced him to the maximum sentence of 6 months. During her sentencing, she said that only the proverbial 2x4 between the eyes would be an appropriate punishment for Donziger.
Let's remember briefly that Donziger was actually just suing Chevron because Chevron had dumped all manner of toxic sludge into the living area and the water of people who lived in Ecuador, especially mostly indigenous people, right? In the indigenous area.
Yes. Indigenous people, farmers. Yeah. They told the people this is Texaco when it started. It started in the 60s, and they closed shop. They told the people that the oil was good for them. They lied to them.
They could put it on their skin. It's fine.
Yeah.
Disgusting.
It's really disgusting.
And they had tons of health, health ramifications. You can Google it.
Thousands of people have died, at least that we know of. Cancer rates skyrocketed, birth defects, killed their people's ways of life. So the only person who has been punished over the poisoning of these people on their land and water are the people who actually went after Chevron. It's really disgusting. And Chevron, we know, has had the story killed. People at the New York Times Magazine, there was a story killed there. Networks have killed the story. It's disgusting. But not us.
And not you, especially because you did, along with some other fabulous lefties, did a panel and a big live stream that brought a lot of attention to the case. And then what was it, like 2 days later?
The next day he was so he's sentenced. He's given the maximum sentence. And again, this is something that like no lawyer has ever served jail time for the contempt that he was sentenced to.
Right.
For comparable charges. He was sentenced to the maximum sentence, and then probably because of the stream, and also probably because of the CARES Act, which said that people who are 60 can serve out their sentences at home because of COVID, he was allowed to return home. Now, this was after he lived under house arrest for over 2 years. He had an ankle monitor on. His life was disrupted. Again, he was disbarred. He hasn't been able to, he's been trying to fight for the settlement to go through. The Ecuadorians have not seen a penny from this. But
so it was a kind of a happy ending that the media pressure from the grassroots, which is, I guess, we're still the grassroots media, had a tangible effect, and then some very bad news.
Right. So he's very happy he gets to serve the sentence at home. They even removed his ankle monitor. Then for some reason, and it's unclear why, he was the Bureau of Prisons demanded that he show up at a halfway house, bring clothing.
Just recently, like this.
Yes, a few days ago.
Yeah, 2 days, a couple days.
A few days ago, yeah. He has been in a halfway house since I think it was Friday or Thursday. I can check. Let me get the letter. But he was been in a halfway house. He, unlike the other people in this halfway, and because apparently he was like outside of his apartment, he was in his lobby. But it was also days before it had happened, so it doesn't really make sense. Like, why did they grab him then when his ankle monitor was off? It seems like what I would say looks like it's happened is that they were angry or wanted to retaliate against him. or
Wasn't
something.
it the anniversary of something? The anniversary of the case or something?
The anniversary of the settlement of the decision. It is the anniversary today. It could be because of that. It could be because Aaron Brockovich wrote a really damning op-ed about this, saying like, well, it could have been me. What if I had been arrested instead of, had a movie made about me with Julia Roberts? She wrote that in The Guardian. We know that people really want to shut up Steven Donziger. I'm sure Loretta Preska was upset that he was back at home. I'm sure she was upset that he had his ankle monitor released.
The viciousness of this is just disgusting. It's exactly fascism, like the merger of the corporation and the state. To oppress this man who is just trying to have corporate responsibility for corporations who are killing people.
Yeah, it is a corporate prosecution and persecution. And I should add that it's been condemned by the Amnesty International, the United Nations, Amazon Watch. And last night I spoke to Ali McCracken-Gerard from Amnesty International. I had her on my show, which you can find at youtube.com/the Katie Halper Show.
Everyone go watch that. Very powerful.
Yeah, it was a pretty informative stream. I also had on Paul Passimino from Amazon Watch, who does great work. He was also sued and accused of fraud by Chevron. So this amazing organization that defends the rights of the Amazon, the people of the Amazon. It's disgusting. But yeah, so it was on February 9th. I'm looking at the letter that his lawyers put out. On February 9th at 7:30 in the morning, Steven Donziger was told that he must report to a halfway house in the Bronx in person and to bring clothing. Since that time, he has remained confined and not afforded any of the normal privileges, outdoor activity, departing the premises, etc., given to other detainees in the same facility. No explanation was provided as to the reason for his renewed detention.
My understanding is there's no windows.
There are no windows. Yeah.
And that it's rather distressing. I mean, I find this very worrisome.
Yes.
Given the power of the state and what the state is willing to do.
Yeah.
I mean, not just the state, but like the corporate state.
Right. And again, this is something that it is unprecedented. We see a literal corporate prosecution because the Federal District of New York, the Southern District of New York, the Federal Prosecutor's Office declined to prosecute. So what does this Judge Lewis Kaplan do? He literally hires a private firm which had represented Chevron. It's the type of thing that if it happened in another country that the United States had an adversarial relationship to, they would be condemning as, totally corrupt, as lacking rule of law. And the truth is it's totally corrupt and it violates the rule of law and it's a joke and it's a mockery, makes a mockery of the justice system.
Where are our elected officials
right here?
Where are our elected officials on this?
Well, some people have spoken out and not enough. What's interesting is that very depressing, actually. Jerry Nadler, who is his congressman who represents Stevens District, has not spoken out. He was delivered petitions with thousands of signatures. He didn't even say anything about it. Gillibrand is his senator. She has remained silent. She herself has ties to the fossil fuel industry. Jerry Nadler's son works at one of the corrupt law firms that went after Donziger.
I thought I couldn't be less of a fan of Gillibrand, and now that you said that,
you want more? You want more?
Yeah.
She's a big fan and supporter of this lawyer from the law firm that went after Steven Donziger. Jennifer Reardon, who Joe Biden has nominated to be a federal judge, which is sickening and disgusting. First of all, she's at this law firm that does a lot of fossil fuel industry defending and representing. So she and her firm went after Steven. But beyond that, this woman is someone who has represented real estate companies who were accused of discriminating against tenants with HIV and AIDS. And she also put on her pro bono experience that she had represented charter schools who didn't want to pay a prevailing wage to teachers. I mean, this is what she puts on like her own she included that when in this document that she gave, like that's what she wants the media to be talking about. How bad is your like pro bono experience when you actually include that? I mean, it's just pathetic.
Absolutely.
And so, this is Gibson Dunn is the law firm, and it's a real shame that we have a president. I mean, to be fair, the guy promised us something. He said nothing would fundamentally change. And wow, has he lived up to that promise? It's probably the one promise that he's most lived up to.
Oh my gosh. So what can people, is there any
members of Congress have asked the Justice Department to look into it? Two senators, Sheldon Whitehouse and Markey, Was it Markey or
Markey? Ed?
Markey,
Just call him Ed. Ed Markey. Yeah, it's Markey from Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there was I think that's who it was. And then again, Amnesty, Greenpeace, Amazon Watch, UN. So 64 Nobel laureates. What'd you say?
Oh, sorry. Nothing. Here's the question: what can people do who are just learning about this, which I hope is no one in my audience, but also really concerned about this? So is there any organization?
Yeah, they can go to freedonziger.com. That's probably the most important thing. Follow the hashtag FreeDonziger on Twitter. Follow @Donziger. We're trying to figure out what exactly to do about it because, again, it's he's in there now, so we don't want to be. And I don't want to do anything that'll have any more retaliation, but at the same time, we can't keep quiet about this because if people don't know about it, then the Bureau of Prisons won't feel any pressure to do the right thing. He needs to be released immediately. He should be at home. Again,
basically, he's held for nothing.
Yeah. For allegedly being in his lobby.
Yes, allegedly.
Days before they went after
on a charge that shouldn't have had any.
Right, he shouldn't be. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yes, America, welcome to it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being on that story. You've been, at the forefront of getting it out into the world, and I appreciate that. So
thank you. Yeah, and we did a great stream with Brianna Joy Gray, Crystal Ball, and Marianne Williamson, and that's actually a good transition.
Oh, you're mentioning a stream with Crystal Ball, Brianna Joy Gray, Katie Halper, Marianne Williamson that we are, and I'm doing it this time too, that we are doing tomorrow Wednesday called Seize the House. You can watch it on any of our platforms, any of these fine women that you see here, where we're going to be supporting and presenting progressive candidates who are primarying corporate Democrats. Katie, talk about why this is so important.
It's so important because why is it so important? Sorry, I just want to be honest.
No problem.
That just popped up on my screen, so that's my.
I have a couple of thoughts about why it's important.
First I got why it's important.
Yeah,
we need more. These are all non-corporate candidates. We know that the squad can be disappointing. We need more people. When we have more of a majority, we do better. I think a lot of people are frustrated with the Democrats. Lord knows that I am, but we have to have an inside-outside strategy, right? We need to build the mass movement to push the politicians to do the right thing. We have to make it politically toxic and uncomfortable for them to stand in the way of progress. And so the more people that we have who will be accountable, the better. I love all the people who are going to be on the panel. We're going to be presenting some of the different. There are so many awesome progressive candidates out there. I mean, when Bernie said you got to run, people took that seriously and they are running. We've got nurses. We've got, all manner teachers. We've got all manner of regular working people who are really just in it to bring justice to causes that they've seen firsthand be unjust. And we have a special guest coming who is also running, who was going to be a co-host until she threw her hat in the ring. Nina Turner's coming. Yes, the inimitable Nina Turner. Yeah, we have great people. We got Rebecca Parson, who I'm a huge fan of. She's running for Congress in Washington. She's someone who's a major activist. She's been formerly unhoused. She does a lot of direct action around homelessness. She's taken over buildings to, for the people. She's done amazing work, mutual aid. She's a very kind of hands-on, knows that you have to have an inside-outside strategy, inside-outside game, that politicians won't save us alone, but that they can help. And especially when you combine direct action with political, with electing better politicians, that's kind of the way you move things forward. So very excited about her.
There's already, we say that thing about the inside-outside because there's already, I know in your audience, also with our audience, people sometimes they're just completely dejected by the two-party system and they have decided not to vote, or they're just so upset about the Democrats that they just can't bring themselves morally to vote for anyone running within the party structure.
Yeah.
So I think it's good specifically that some of the folks who are also disgusted with the Democratic Party are hosting the show to say, these candidates are also kind of disgusted with the Democratic Party, and they want to, have that inside strategy. What do you say to folks who are like, of course they're going to say, oh, but the squad disappointed us in these certain ways. Everyone gets corrupted going into a corrupt system. How can we?
I think what we can say is that there have been some disappointments. All right, I'm going to call.
Oh, it reminds me of when I co-hosted, or I guest hosted on Fox with, I think you were there. In fact, I think you got me introduced to Alan Combs, and we were on, we go on that show. It was the one liberal guy, truly actively liberal on Fox, who of course got marginalized and exited to the radio. And they kept him on because there were at the time liberal radio stations, radio talk stations, and there was money to be made. And you and I would go on that show, and occasionally I would guest host the show, and people would say, why would you even go on that network? And I'd say, because I can say something that maybe would, have
reach one of the largest audiences available.
Exactly. So,
well, what do you say to people who make that complaint about the squad?
Say that again.
What is your response to people who say, oh, what's the point of this? The squad is useless, blah, 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 blah.
Well, I don't think the squad is big enough. They need more power. So voting for these people would give them more power. I mean, the only reason any of the infrastructure bill got passed is because the progressives did a block voting thing and insisted that they were gonna stick with their progressive priorities, and they, they can't be in charge of the entire outcome. But the more people we can get into that block, I think the better. And when these are non-corporate candidates, right? They're not
beholden to corporate interests. Yeah,
exactly. And they're not taking corporate donations. So, but the politics is a dirty system. And I think anyone who expects an AOC to go in and, it's like you're going to get splashed with mud if you're in there. You can't keep that halo clean. And I think we have to be realistic about what can be achieved by a handful of women and a couple of guys. You know what I mean? Like, that are progressive. So if we give them more than a handful, then our expectations can get higher.
Right. I agree.
Yeah. Well, I hope other people who watch agree, because I usually get a lot of shit. For that. Katie, what is coming up on your show this week?
I'm actually having Adolph Reed on Tuesday, which I'm very excited about. He's great. He has a new book called The South. Really excited about that. So people can tune in Tuesday at 7 p.m. on youtube.com/The Katie Halper Show. And come by the stream. We understand you're frustrated. I'm frustrated with them. This isn't the only solution. I actually think, ironically, it's like sometimes people who are frustrated, they kind of almost overestimate the role of elected officials. Like, you don't have to embrace electoralism as a passion. You can just acknowledge that it's part of it, and it's better to have good people in there.
Well said. I mean, I think some of the corporate narrative is like, it's cheerleader. We're cheering our own team, and you have to be on the team. But I don't really think that's the way politics works. As to your point, I think you have to do what will get your values forwarded, and you don't have to love the team that you might vote into if it's useful to you.
Right. Yeah. I think that's Or
it's hard, because those of us who have
the individuals that are going to be more effective. Like, you have a choice. We can have the worst people in there, or slightly better people in there, to be like the least charitable. Let's say slightly less evil. And all of those things make a difference. Like, they have ripple effects, and there are people who do good things. And sometimes I get annoyed because people were mad at, like, Cori Bush because she got the eviction moratorium extended, and then the Supreme Court overturned that. Okay, fine, but she tried. That's the whole point. And people got mad with Force the Vote when people didn't try. Force the Vote, which I supported, was theater, political theater, in a good sense. We were going to get people on record, and there's going to be hopefully maybe a watershed moment where we saw how immoral it was, and people were going to be able to condemn, turning the healthcare system into, or having a system of healthcare that's profit driven instead of driven to save lives, like, so we have to be a little bit less, I think, a little bit more thoughtful about this. I get it. I get why people throw up their hands in disgust and frustration, but also I thought that was a frustrating thing. Cori Bush did something that was the right thing to do. People should have given her credit for that. Yes, the Supreme Court overturned it, but I was there saying that so Biden should have extended it regardless of what the Supreme Court was going to do. And we, and people were supporting that call.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
There's so many ways in, and we can't just stop fighting it.
Yeah. Like, but don't worry. It's not like once these people get in, we would be silent about it. We're going to be making
exactly.
them,
We're going to be nice to them until they get in. Then we're going to be like, what about
and
this?
And the more that there are, the easier it is to force them to do the right thing. They can't hide behind the numbers not being in their favor.
I would rather they be beholden to us as the independent media as opposed to beholden to whatever corporate interest.
Right.
Beholden to the people who give money. And these people are really interesting, and I look forward to that stream. It's called Seize the House. It's going to be on all of our platforms. So you can go to Katie Halper's YouTube page. You can watch it right here at act.tv. You can go to Marianne's page, Bree's page, Crystal Ball. It's going to be all over the place. 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. So mark your calendars.
Yes, it's going to be great. And we're going to be live in the same place, which is great energy.
And if you enjoyed this conversation between Katie and I, imagine what the addition of Brianna Joy Gray, Marianne Williamson, and Crystal Ball is going to be like. It's going to
plus all the guests. Plus all the guests. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's going to be great. Also, can I just quickly plug my call-in show that I do a call-in show?
Yes, please do.
And my patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show. Because it's funny, last night I did this stream. It was like an hour and a half long stream. And the monetization was limited. I mean, I don't know why. I was doing a show about Steven Donziger, that got it limited in terms of monetization. So that's interesting. Yeah. So patreon.com/The Katie Halper Show. You get, there are a couple levels, but if you give at $1 a month, you're just supporting, helping the show happen, making the show happen. And if you pay $5 a month, you get bonus episodes. So there's like over 200 episodes now that you can listen to. Really great stuff. I have a great interview with Gabor Mate, who
we love that guy.
Yeah, right. So he's usually talks about healing and trauma and addiction, but I actually interviewed him about what it was like being a Holocaust survivor. He was given to a Christian woman, brought him to safety he talks to me about how that has turned him into an Israel critic and a defender of Palestinians. So that's really interesting. Really great episode.
That is fascinating. Yeah. Fascinating. Well, you've built, I tip my hat to you because I've known you for a long time, since we were both young, and now we're both still fabulous.
Still young.
I guess young in this business. So anyway, it's wonderful what you've been doing. And thanks so much for being on our program. And I look forward to seeing you in person. We're all going to be in person, hopefully.
Yes, on Wednesday.
Between now and then. Yeah.
Yes,
on Wednesday
7 to 10. Check it out on any of our channels. You can go right now if you want at youtube.com/The Katie Halper Show. It's up there. It'll be on all of our channels.
Yeah, there's a thing where you can hit remind me that.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Oh, and subscribe to youtube.com/The Katie Halper Show too.
I think that goes without saying.
Yeah. And Useful Idiots, youtube.com/Useful Idiots. Yeah.
Useful Idiots. Yep. That's good. Gosh, you keep busy.
I do. Yeah. So do you though.
We do.
Plus you have a kid. So
well, there's a lot of work to be done. I mean, we certainly have enough to work on.
Yeah. That's true.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye. See you soon. You are watching ACT TV. It was so nice to have Katie on. We're both, we both come from having been and continuing to be also political satirists. In addition to, we're like serious news people. And also we do funny stuff, including sometimes stand up, sometimes different kinds of presentations. So I always love having her on because of the back and forth. So I'm looking forward to that event. ACT TV is going to be live streaming it. Remember, I've had a bunch of these folks on the show before, and I've highlighted a number of them. We've been highlighting them for a couple of weeks now. So don't miss. It's going to be live, and it's going to be good. All right. You're watching ACT TV. Thank you so much for watching. Find us here on Thursday, where we're talking to Ben Burgess of Jacobin. He's going to be doing the headlines with us. I'm Julianna Forlano, and I will see you then. Bye-bye.